Good afternoon, lovely people. Welcome back to the farm. I'm Brandon with Sojourn Farms, and today we are going to be fixing a problem. So as you may know, we have this new fancy-dancy electric fence, and it's not quite working the way that I wanted it to work. It's not quite working the way that I would have hoped. So what we're going to do is make it work the way that I want it to. And that's going to require a little more infrastructure. So we'll head out there and I'll show you why it isn't working the way we want it to work and what we're going to do to make it work. The short and long of it is the sheep are getting out. And that's the problem because, you know, if you've got livestock and they're getting out and they're not staying where you want them, then you're not able to effectively manage them. And worst case scenario, they can get off your property, take a little trip down to the neighbors, and next thing you know, you got thousands of dollars worth of damage to pay for. So it's not the sheep's fault, it's not the lamb's fault. They're just doing what sheep do. The system, the way that it's set up and designed, is not reliable the way it is, so we're gonna have to make it more reliable so that it's gonna do what we want it to do. So that's what we're gonna work on today. It shouldn't take too long, maybe a couple hours, and then we'll be done and we'll have a system in place that is gonna do what we want it to do, keep the sheep where we want them to stay. So I got another post here. We're gonna put this in the center of the pasture. This is going to be our central hub. And off from this, we're going to set up spokes that will stretch out and create the separate paddocks. So we'll have basically a wheel system all the way around the paddock that will rotate the sheep around. But this is the first step right here, our center hub. And then I've got 20 5.5 foot posts that will be the ends of our spokes all the way around the pasture. And we're just going to set up insulators between this and all of those. So several insulators. We'll start with 3 on one side, 3 per side, north, south, east, and west around this. And you'll see what I mean when we get around to it. Alright, so I got a measurement of the pasture and we are 476 by 343 feet. So that's going to be, the center point is going to be at the 238 foot by 121.5 foot point in the pasture, and we don't need to be exact. A couple feet off isn't going to make that big of a difference. We're going to move the sheep not necessarily based on days in a paddock, but based on how much forage is left in a paddock. So since they've gotten out, they got out Thanksgiving Day and they came up to the house to greet us. So they were just on time for Thanksgiving dinner, but they weren't the guests that we invited. We've just let them roam the pasture since then because there's not a lot of sense in leaving your guests inside when we did have a perimeter fence to keep them in here, but they've just been roaming the pasture. So now we're going to get them in a paddock and move them rotationally as they should be. So that's pretty great that we've been able to graze them on this pasture all through November. A lot of times you plan for halfway through November you're going to start feeding them hay. Well, this is maybe going to be halfway into December we'll actually start feeding them hay. What we're going to do now is put these insulators in the post all around it so that we've got 3 lines that we can connect anytime that we want to, and then we'll just run the wire back and forth to get a paddock. So I think we're going to go 10, 20, and 30. fence is finally done. We have the sheep in here. This is a nice tight line, so it's not gonna go slack. We've got fence posts about every 30 feet. And what I'm gonna do is turn this on and just test the electric pulse going through here, make sure that it is where it needs to be, should be. We walked the line, we found out where there was a short, where it was grounding out. So we are going to turn this puppy on and we'll see how it runs. All right, we're getting good power there. That's 9.1, anywhere between 9 to 9.3. All right, it's a hot fence. I'm happy with that. This should work a lot better and it should go a lot more smoothly. We will basically set up a line of posts. We'll set up a line of the step-in stakes right along the line to where we need to go, and then we'll run this line all the way up to it. See the sheep up there, they are exploring the outer limits of their boundaries. They currently have a pretty good sized paddock. This could last them for a couple of days. Yeah, this should work out pretty good. So this is basically the size of one paddock, and this should work out really well. That will be 32 days in between moving them if we keep them on one paddock for a day. For 2 days. That'll be 32 days in between moving them, which is plenty of time for the parasites to die before they would end up eating them again. So what we did before didn't work out so well. The stakes weren't strong enough to put that much tension on, to put that much weight on, and so they would just bend over, the lines would go slack, and the sheep would jump over the line that was basically sitting on the ground anyway, and probably grounding out the energizer. This will work a lot better because we've got 3 points of strength. We've got the 2 T-posts that are at the wide end of our paddock, and we've got the main center hub post that is going to be at the narrow end of our paddock. And then we'll just wagon wheel around it, a spoke here, going spoke by spoke, we'll create paddocks, and as we need to create new paddocks, we'll have to put T-posts in, or we'll just have to get out here and do it all at once. But I'm really pleased with this. This is going to work out great.